following program was pre-recorded and the views expressed.
Gather round. It's time for your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group at Coldwell Banker Burnett. Listen closely as your coaches discuss the culture, the economy, and the political scene, and how it affects your home and your real estate investments. Real Estate Chalk Talk is where you learn the science of buying and selling real estate and the art of living in your home. Your education begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey there, welcome to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're broadcasting live from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio here in Eagan, Minnesota. HittnerGroup.com, Hittner Group, all one word, HittnerGroup.com, 612-627-8000, 612-627-8000. That's the big number to call. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you about your real estate needs, all with no cost and absolutely no obligation. All right, so we're coming into G. Willikers. What is it today? First day of August is the broadcast date for the show. First day of August.
God, that's crazy.
Hard to believe. What a wonderful July it has been, though.
Really? Why?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had a terrific, think about it. You had a 4th of July was normal. Lots of parades, lots of fireworks, people out and about. It was fantastic. Weather was gorgeous. It was good. The whole month has been, weather-wise, it's been a little bit hot. Love it, right? It's been terrific. People are at the parks doing, jamming them, the parks. Leaving a little dirty. It's had some reports on that they kind of trash them and they leave. So if you're heading up to the parks, please be respectful and, leave it in better shape than the way you found it would be much appreciated. And, we were busy. The restaurant's been busy. Lots of catering, lots of weddings. It's been a terrific month from that standpoint. Sold a few houses. It's just been good all the way around. Just been good. And now to wind up the weekend or the month with a weekend like this, weather-wise, a little smoke from Canada in the air. But other than that,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it. Yesterday I was driving around and out and about, and it's like, geez, where's all this? I thought there was something wrong with my eyes.
Right?
But not really. So we have, you got anything you want to add before I dive in? Otherwise, I'm
Nope,
diving.
just good to be back.
Okay, Calvin
I was
Kamick,
out,
ladies and gentlemen, back in
Out
the...
in little Vegas and Atlanta and just everywhere with hoops, but we're done now. Hey, did you see last night Jalen Suggs picked 5th overall NBA draft? Orlando Magic, so congrats for the Suggs family. So that's the AAU program that my son plays for, so it's kind of fun to watch them on TV last night. And congrats to him. So he's sponsored now by Adidas, picked up a bunch of endorsements. It's crazy
Just like that.
how much money these guys are
Instant
worth before
millionaire.
before they ever step foot on the floor, they're
Set.
set.
Yeah.
They're doing well.
Yeah,
Crazy.
good for them.
So so congrats to Jalen and Suggs family.
Okay, I'm Keith Hittner, Sr., and we are here with Eric Thuringer, and we are going to talk about, Eric is, just as a matter of introduction, Eric is a former Marine, right?
Yes, sir.
And I like that. Yes, sir, I like that a lot. Former Marine, and you came out of the Marine Corps what year?
91.
91. And tell me about that. So you come out of the Marine Corps and transition into civilian life. Just kind of tell me about that.
Yeah. So I had actually enlisted in 87. I went in 1987. Ironically, I went
There's
in.
a cough button there,
it.
Kelvin. It's the red one.
Right
It's
after,
the red one.
Right
We got
after.
that.
Sorry, I'm
A
dying.
little COVID here.
We'll make it through.
Yeah.
We'll make it through. You can blame it on the Canadians.
I am blaming it on the Canadians.
I actually went into boot camp about 3 weeks after I saw Full Metal Jacket in the movie theater. So,
Okay.
So that was the time period I went in. I served during the Gulf War era, and I transitioned out about August of 1991. Used my GI Bill, and I went to film school in Southern California. So
Film school.
Film school. So I was kind of an anomaly there. There weren't a lot of veterans or Marines in film school. So I started off at Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, California, and then I got accepted to the University of Southern California. So I went to USC's film program, #1 film school in the world. It was absolutely amazing.
And so what was your hope for outcome there? What was your goal
I
there?
wanted to direct movies.
Okay.
I'm just a huge movie fan. So
All right.
I
Really?
love movies. My goal was to direct movies. I went to school with people like Kevin Feige, who's now the president of Marvel Studios. He's responsible for the whole Marvel Avengers, everything going on there. Chris Bell, he was a director of Bigger, Stronger, Faster, a steroid documentary. Rick Famuyiwa was in our class too. He just directed a few episodes of The Mandalorian.
So do you know these guys now?
I do.
You still
I've
stay
known,
in touch with them? Or?
with Chris Bell was just on my podcast.
Okay.
So I'll be getting Rick and Kevin on soon. That is the
Okay.
goal. So I have
Okay.
other goals too.
All right.
Yeah.
But I started working in
It's not that they see in the street and they kind of hold their hand up over their face like that and walk the other
well,
direction.
not that I'm aware of.
Walk by.
Not that I'm aware.
Probably. She hasn't had
There's
one.
probably a lot of people that do that. So
Yeah.
yes, maybe they do. I started working in the post-production side of the film industry actually during my time at USC. So I became what was called a vault manager, and I worked at a company that was working on the special effects for Independence Day.
Okay.
And so
Really?
that way back in the day, that was the
Great
first job out of college that I had.
Huh.
And so I ran the vault, and we had, 7 or 8 people in there. We handled all the elements that came in for these movies, for TV commercials, for shows, everything. And it was a great experience.
And what were you doing? Like literally, are you cutting film, putting stuff together? Or what?
So at that point, they were digitizing film in, so we would clean the film when it would come in,
Okay.
and we would prepare it for editorial sessions.
Okay.
So a lot of the footage that came in, like for Independence Day,
Right.
then the film would be cleaned, prepared for the sessions, and then it would be pretty much put into a program where they could operate on that and do the digital compositing and all that type of work. And so the company that I worked for at that time was called Pacific Ocean Post, and they did the bulk of the effect shots for that movie. So there was a lot of different houses involved with it, but they had the bulk of it, and that put them on the map.
Okay.
And so I worked there maybe for 4 years.
Okay.
And then they had sold the company. There was some layoffs at that point. And then I started working back in the industry in a DVD company. And then at that point, my wife, we'd been married 10 months. She was diagnosed with cancer, and I left the industry. Came back later, but I was her caregiver overnight.
Okay.
And so did that. Then I got back into the film industry and became the VP of a media company out there. We ran that for about 7 years. And then I started my company, Think Great.
And then what led you to do that?
So,
And how did you wind up here in
yeah,
Minnesota?
I know, what a crazy, I know,
Right.
from California, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when I was at the media company, I started to apply a lot of the techniques I learned in the Marine Corps. So that military training and development to the team there. And I started to create programs to help us to grow. So I started off entry level there, and within a year and a half, I was their VP. And we grew to over 300%. But the amazing part, we didn't just grow our annual sales revenue, which we did, over 300%, but we minimized all mistakes. We almost had none. We went from 15% errors to 0.35, almost with the same team. And so what we had done is started to train and develop the people. So we trained them to do their jobs better, but we developed them as leaders, everybody from the owner to the driver. And when you have that level of success, people start saying, how did you do that? Can you help me? And so I started to think, maybe there's more to life than the media world.
Right.
And so I was at a coffee shop in California one day, and I wrote Think Great on a napkin. And I said, I just want to teach people to think differently during tough times. I had been a caregiver for my wife through multiple battles of cancer, which continued on, and her challenges have continued. And I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I realized a lot of it went around goal setting. And so I started to teach people some techniques on goal setting, because goal setting for Gina and I were very important when she was sick. We would set a goal, and I would get her to look into the future. And so she had a tough challenge right now, but the future looked better. And so goal setting helped us out a lot with that.
And what window is the future to you?
Say again?
What window is the future? Is that 6 months? Is that 1 month? Is that 5 years? Or what is that?
I think that we can control our next 90 days.
Okay.
And so I always encourage people on the goal setting side, whether it's personal or professional, to look far out. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And that can be hard to identify, especially nowadays. And then we break that down and say, okay, if you want to be here in 5 years, what does it look like in 3 years? And then what does it look like for the next year? And if we can get them to map out the next year, then we can break that year into quarters.
Right.
And so we go on what I call a 90-day run. So when I coach individuals or I coach leaders or sales teams or leadership teams or companies as a whole, we break it down into 90-day blocks, so it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah, actually, I think a 5-year plan is easier than a 90-day plan.
Yeah, because it's easier to say, well, I want to do all these things.
Yeah.
The next 90 days.
I want to have a yacht in 5 years.
Right.
You know, and I want this, I want that,
That's right.
I want that. A lot of I wants.
Yeah.
Not a lot of how I'm going tos.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, that 5
And
years
that's
is
what
very.
forces on the 90 days, though.
Yes.
That's right.
It forces you to act.
Right.
That 5 years or 3 years is very strategic.
Mm-hmm.
But the 90 days is tactical, and that's where people struggle.
Okay.
Can we map out? Can we, carpe diem? Can we seize the day?
Mm-hmm.
Can we seize each day and seize 90 of them together? So boot camp in the Marine Corps was about 90 days. So I saw what they could do to a human being in 90 days. We could transform into a warrior when we had come from here.
Yeah.
So, I
When I was reading your stuff, we have to go out to break, and I want to come back. But when I was reading your stuff, I was online, looking at your website, and I saw that 90-day thing there, and it struck me because I have the same thing, and I didn't even realize that there's 90 days. If someone comes in to me as a new agent, in 90 days, either you're going to be an agent or you're not going to be an agent, and I know what you got to do. We got to hit out the break. I'll be right back after these messages. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. Stay tuned.
Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack barbecue. Yeah.
What's that?
I like the music.
I wrote that, Jinko.
Theme song. I like that. You wrote it. Very nice. It's catchy.
No, I'm writing one now for. I'm writing one. It's called a link tree in the bio. Almost got it done.
Link tree in the bio. Good.
It's for social media.
The ever powerful social media.
Why do I hear
Yep, spin
radio
it.
in the?
I do hear some.
I hear
bleed
radio in
in
my
the ground.
headphones. Oh, what's that?
Yeah, it's not in the recording. It's some RF radio frequency bleed in the ground of the system.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get a little bit subtle if your headphones are up high.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, pull them down lower on your ears.
Lower my ears, then, Trevor.
All right.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Spin it.
Here we go for 2.
And now, we return to the purveyors of real estate knowledge. Your Real Estate Chalk Talk.
Hey, thanks for staying with us. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're broadcasting from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio. RackShackToGo.com. Go to RackShackToGo.com. Get the best food of your life. Order it up. Either pick it up at the restaurant or have it delivered right out to your house. Your choice. Whatever you want to do is okay with me. HittnerGroup.com, that's where you get the best homes of your life. Hittner Group, all one word. HittnerGroup.com, search for homes. Get all the info that you need to make a good, wise decision. Or better yet, give us a call, 612-627-8000. We'd be happy to give you a good conversation, no cost, and absolutely no obligation. Okay, so we're talking with Eric Thurwinger, and am I saying that?
You are, yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
We're talking with Eric, and when we went out to break, we were talking about the 90 days and how that we said was
Strategic, right?
Yeah, tactical.
Yeah.
So longer than 90, strategic. In other words, so I'm like, okay, in 5 years, I got
That's
my
good.
5-year plan. So my 5-year plan, I want to have 20 agents on the team, all making 6 figures. I want to have in our health and wellness business, I want to be selling about $1 million a month in product through our health and wellness business. I have all these goals for that. The restaurant, I want to have, we've got our financial goals in terms of the number of catering double the number of catering, triple the number of catering groups that we've got out and so forth. Then you get down to so that's strategic.
Yep.
That's and easy to say that. It's easy to say, oh, this is what I want there. Oh no, I'd like to have a Maserati too. Then at what point does it start becoming, is it 2 years, 3 years? At what point does that start squeezing down to like, I got to do some day-to-day stuff here?
Yeah. Well, a great question. So when I work with business leaders, especially with their teams, we do what's called a flight plan. So I was an air traffic controller in the Marine Corps, and I look at every business as an aircraft. It's designed to take off, not taxi around the airfield of mediocrity, not stay on the ground. There's nothing more frustrating than being in a plane that's stuck on the ground. And that's how a lot of business leaders feel. So they have these high levels of elevation they want to achieve 5 years out, 3 years out. They just don't know how to get that first 90 days going so they can take off. And so what I always encourage people to do is really look at your vision statement. Look at your greater purpose, your big picture, and then start to pull goals from that. In other words, accomplishing goals is very much like putting a puzzle together. It forms a big picture, but if you don't know the big picture, it's harder to put these pieces together. So when we first sit down with leaders or even individuals,
you have to look at the cover of the puzzle box.
you have
right?
to, and that's when mom dumps the puzzle out in front of you as a kid. There was a formula. You'd flip over the pieces, look for the corners and edges, and then the patterns and colors, and you work your way in. So you know the formula,
Yep.
but you still look at the big picture.
Yep.
Because visually, we need that as human beings. We need the visual. Our drill instructors constantly showed us, here is the eagle, globe, and anchor. Here is the emblem, but it's not yours yet. So we saw the big picture, even though it was a little emblem. We saw it, and we were striving for it. So 5 years out, 3 years out, is more of that visionary, here's what we need, all those goals you mentioned. What I start doing as a goal coach is I start breaking down the actions you need to take right now.
Can you tell me the difference between, before we get into the actions, the difference between vision and purpose and,
Mission. It's
mission
mission, vision.
What
it's
is all that about? And people say, oh, you got to have your find your why. It's like, find my why. I don't even know. What are you talking about?
So I'm gonna break the lid off all that right now, and I talk about it in my books. We borrow a lot from the military in business. The military has a chain of command, and they use it. At the top of my chain of command was Ronald Reagan. I never called him. He never called me, but I knew how the chain of command worked. We create an org chart, and most businesses don't use it. First of all, they don't even create it. So when I go into a business, I start looking at the org chart, and they go, well, we don't have it. We're a flat organization. I said, well, you need to have some depth. The chain of command allows you to structure your line of communication and authority.
Right.
Okay? But you got to use it right. We do the same thing with mission statement. We borrow it from the military. What we've seen is 18, 19, 20-year-olds accomplishing mission. And we're like, geez, we need our people to do that. Maybe we should have a mission statement. I mean, here I was 18 years old in the control tower. Who does that?
Right.
And that's all. That's every branch. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. They train us as air traffic controllers. They develop us as leaders. We go in the tower. So we want our teams to have that mission mindset. So we create a mission statement. A mission statement is great. A mission statement says, here's what we do today. Our mission is this. A mission statement is very tactical. We need to come in and accomplish mission. So for us at Think Great, our mission statement is to create a wave of dynamic thinking. We want to do that every day. Our vision statement is different. Our vision statement is to lead the worldwide people movement. The vision statement is about who you become. So I think a lot of organizations that don't use them properly, they just get them mixed up. So these are critical because they form your identity, just like your core values. We have passion, integrity, and excellence. So the acronym is PI. I love PI, and I love passion, integrity, and excellence.
Right.
Most business leaders can't tell you their core values, which means their team can't say it, which means you can't live it. So more important than why. And why is important. You have a purpose. Why is critically important. Here's why I'm doing this. There's one thing that is above the why, and that's the who. The who you're doing it for. Everything we did in the Marines was for the Marine to the left and to the right, or for our nation. So we know who we were doing it for, and if you're setting your goals and you link them to your who, you're unstoppable. That's why when we do goal setting in organizations or strategic planning, we attach the people to the goals. We encourage the people to become crew chiefs or crew members on the goal. So it's not just this small team of leaders trying to accomplish all these goals. Everybody's involved.
Right.
When I do a personal goal, I still list out my who I'm doing this for, who I'll impact. We started a foundation called the Think Great Foundation. I've never done a foundation before, but they've been done, so I figured I can do one.
Right.
Figured out how to do it, talked to some other veteran friends that knew how to do it, and now we award scholarships to military spouses. So when I was creating this foundation, I started to write down names of military spouses I knew, and then started to let people know I'm doing it, and I couldn't fail. So there's some techniques in goal setting, but one of them is to attach your who to it. The more people who know about your goal, the better. The more people who can support your goal, the better. It's always teamwork. So mission, vision, core values, if you have the definition of what they mean, how to use them, you'll be extremely successful. It helps to create that identity.
So who is linked to the why? Because
Yes.
people, ask me sometimes, well, why do you do real estate?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like houses.
Yeah.
I like families. I don't know if that's really a why. Families live in houses. They need to have, I think that people who own homes are better, not better people, but better able to integrate into the community. They feel more connected. They model the American dream. They make it's a better situation for kids. All that stuff revolves around home ownership, and the same thing with the health and wellness business. And well, if you're going to live in a home, then why not live in a healthy home? And then now we have a radio show, Our Healthy Homes, so we talk about that. It's all that. I don't know if that's really a why. I have a hard time with it. Was that really a why?
I think helping people. You're helping people.
I know, but that sounds like such a platitude.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
But that's why I think the who. I think the who comes into place because you can attach names like your team.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing all this to benefit your team and you know those names, that becomes powerful, becomes unstoppable. Or even if it impacts your family. If a goal impacts a family member and you list them, it's highly unlikely you'll let them down. It's very much like going to the gym. I think we've all been in the car and gone past the gym when we should have went there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're waiting for me there,
Right.
I'm stopping off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to focus on it. So attaching the who makes us unstoppable.
Interesting you said that, because I have a thing I started a month ago called a senior moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Keith Hittner Senior, so it's a senior moment, and it's 5 minutes
Yeah.
every morning at 7:00. And I like Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker is a mentor of mine. He doesn't know who I am from a can of worms, but I admire Herschel Walker. And Herschel Walker did body weight exercises for most of his career. So push-ups, sit-ups, thousands of them a day.
Yep.
Well, I'm not doing thousands of them a day, but I can do 10.
There you go.
So I said, okay, so I'm going to do this senior moment, and I'm going to talk a little bit about just life
Yeah.
for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to do push-ups together. And I made a commitment to do it every day for a year. So I've rethought that a couple of times, right? But, in the last 30 days. But today was episode 30. So it's number 30. We've done 20 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, 20 deep knee bends every day for 30 days. And now in
That's awesome.
Toe touches.
in August, and toe touchers aren't part of it. I just do that myself. But those are the 3 core ones that we do. So then on August it goes to 30 a day, and then that's 10 a day more a day every month until the end of the year. We will have done 27,290 push-ups, sit-ups, and deep knee bends. I'm thinking that after that, I'm probably going to feel a little bit better about myself
I would think so.
than if I hadn't. Well, the other day, I get up at like 4:00 in the morning. So
Nice.
I get up at 4 in the morning. I read, I write, and I'm sitting there and thinking, I don't really feel like doing no doggone push-ups, but I had made a commitment
That's the
to
key.
do it, and I knew I had to show up on camera at 7:00, and I'm doing the push-ups.
There's some who's that were expecting you to do it.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
This is our Real Estate Chalk Talk. We got to go out and pay some bills. I'll be right back after these messages.
But who are you doing that for, Senior?
Hmm?
Who are you doing that for?
What's that?
Your stuff. Your senior moment.
I actually was more about the. I don't know the answer to that.
I see it as a legacy deal.
I see it as a legacy
Right?
deal. I
So-
think you're right.
When you check out, that's going to be something that we'll go back to and just watch and just kind of go, oh wow, that was cool.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
If nothing
So
else,
there's
the
legacy.
kids will have 365 days of
you blathering
video
on about
of me
something.
blathering on about,
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
about something.
But you know what else too is that you said you'll feel better, right? You're going to feel better through
Right.
all this, and it doesn't have to wait until the end.
Right.
So like for me, when I go to the gym, I will attach I want to have more energy to hang out with my daughter or my grandson. So when you attach a who, you're more likely to fulfill that goal. But every day you're seizing that day for that one small thing.
Yeah.
Now, if you can add other goals in there where you're seizing the day for those actions, you can accomplish anything.
All right.
Good for
Spin it.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go for 3. Stand by.
And now, we return to the purveyors of real estate knowledge. Your Real Estate Chalk Talk.
Hey, welcome back to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk, broadcasting from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio in Eagan, Minnesota. HittnerGroup.com, Hittner Group, all one word, .com. 612-627-8000, 612-627-8000 is the number to call. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you. Give us a ring-a-ling-a-ling, all with no cost and absolutely no obligation. Okay, we're talking with Eric Thurwinger, and when we went out to break, I was just saying how I the other day on the senior moment, I just didn't feel like doing the push-ups, the sit-ups, and all that stuff. But I had made this commitment, and that was actually one of the words I talked about earlier in the month, was commitment. So I'd made a commitment to do it. So, I just felt like I just had to do it. I timed myself one time on camera on how long it took to do 20 push-ups. It takes 30 seconds. So it's like, can you just muster it for 30 seconds, Keith Areno? Get down on the floor and do some push-ups because you made a commitment. So honor your commitment for 30 seconds. It doesn't take that long.
You seize those 30 seconds. You seize them.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now we were talking about, actually 2 segments ago, about seizing 90 days. Yeah. So tell me about that, and how does that unfold into hourly and daily activity?
So when I ask people, do you believe the next 90 days are coming, they always say yes. And I said, okay, well, great. Now that you're a believer.
That part,
yeah, we got that first part. And I say, where do you want to be on day 91?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I find is most people own a calendar, but they don't use it as a schedule. In other words, the calendar tells them what day it is. The schedule tells them what to do with the day.
Right.
And I'll often ask people that have goals or they're in sales, I said, if this next 90 days were an Olympic sport, how do you want to medal?
Mm-hmm.
And they always say gold.
All right.
I want to win the gold. Okay. But when I look at their schedule, it's not set up like an Olympic gold medalist. There's, in fact, not all of their priorities are scheduled out. So for your case, those push-ups have to be scheduled out. You have to allocate time for them. So once we know the big picture, once we know the 5-year, 3-year, and 1-year goals, then we can break down things that can be done in 90 days. Just like in boot camp, our days were mapped out. Nobody was winging it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was scheduled out. So when you want to have a transformation in your life, you actually have to schedule that out. It doesn't just happen by...
So scheduling every activity you're going to do...
Yeah, you've got to schedule it.
You're exactly right, Kevin. Because
time blocking, right?
More than time blocking is part of it. But I have on my schedule, I put every appointment is on my schedule.
Yep.
This week, interestingly enough, I found myself, because I always have a list of to-dos.
Yep.
And you have a hard time getting the to-dos done
Yeah,
because the to-dos are kind of, sometimes there's a tendency you might see them and it's optional. I do them today, or if I do them tomorrow, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. And because tomorrow there's going to be more to-dos.
Right.
And the next day there's going to be more. And so now what I've done is I no longer have optional to-dos. If it's going to be on my calendar, it's going in the calendar. And I actually schedule a time to do everything. So at 8:30, I'm doing this activity and getting it done.
Like expense reports, dumb stuff like that.
Dumb stuff like that, yes.
Hate it.
Well, it's interesting. In a number of my books, I talk about time mastery. How can we master time? Because we all got the same amount each day, at least. And so I look at it and I go, all right, well, there's really only 3 actions that happen personally or professionally. There's out actions, which are negative. That could be surfing the web or wasting time. There's ins, like the to-do list, right? There's ins. They're important. You can't get rid of them.
Right.
But you could maybe delegate them. And then there's ons. Those are the priority objectives that are necessary for every goal. So for Michael Phelps to win a gold medal again, not that he's going to do it, he would probably have an on as swimming, resting, eating. He's got his big 3.
Right.
What I try and do is I try and find people's big 3. What are the 3 actions that will get us to where you need to be in 90 days, and we schedule those priorities. You don't have to schedule your important task. You'll get those done. But everything should be important that we're doing. Some things are a priority, and schedule those. Schedule those priorities. And that might be visiting with a client, or working out.
Yeah.
But sometimes if we don't schedule the priorities, they're the ones that fall to the side.
Right.
And we can end up doing negative actions or get stuck in the business or in our life and not work on it.
And spend the day frittering it away on non-important activities.
Because
so often.
That's how you hear people say at the end of the day, I was busy.
Busy all day.
I was busy, but I don't feel like I got anything done.
Yeah.
which is most of the case. That you never hear people say I was productive, and so we get them to shift their words. Don't be busy anymore. Be productive and schedule productive actions.
Move, and it's always moving forward, and it's little steps too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that sometimes I know I do it for myself is I look for these big, leaps.
Yeah.
These big improvements. I want to hockey stick it up, right? And it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. If you look back over time, it's all these tiny
That's right.
incremental little steps along the way, which are pretty mundane.
Transition a little bit, Keith and Eric, on transitioning out of the pandemic, kind of what's going on there. What are you seeing with all the coaching, training you're doing? If that's okay, Keith.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
wonderful.
curious.
No, that's a great question. Since, what was it, March 11th, we went into the pandemic in 2020. Literally on that day, our clients, leaders started calling us saying, I don't know exactly what to do, because none of us have ever led teams through a pandemic. So there were no experts on it. And so we started putting together programs called the Cure for Social Distancing. So we are social creatures, and we were told to stay apart. Probably wouldn't have been so impactful if it really truly was only 2 weeks to flatten it.
Right.
But 64 weeks later,
They're still talking about it.
they're still talking about it, and they're talking about the new variant.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to tell a client, I'll have something to you in 2 weeks, but you take 16 months to do it,
Tough.
it could mess with their psyche.
Right.
So we're talking about that in the entire country. So we've had leaders that have separated their people, not and some 6 feet apart in the workplace, or the plexiglass dividers, the masks. Not a normal situation.
Right.
We have been in a pandemic mode, which we're coming out of, but the pandemic mode was about 15 months, which is longer than most military deployments. And so what we're encountering is, as people are transitioning back, you're transitioning people back that are very sensitive. They have become complacent, easily offended, and they have been removed from other human beings. We have to ask permission. Do you shake hands these days?
Right.
So, and then we think we're just going to put them all in a room and say, get back at it and everything should be fine. So we're finding that there's anxiety, there's fear, there's uncertainty. Most leaders don't know how to transition any more than they did during the pandemic. So we have been giving them solutions on how to unify. Unify the leaders, unify their teams, unify their messages. And we've been seeing phenomenal results with them.
So what do you mean by
What are you
doing
doing with that?
What do you,
So let's just say to
What's the
unify
actual-
leaders, right?
yeah.
Let's just say we're leaders on the same team.
okay.
Most likely in a company, we don't have a definition of what it means to be a leader
Correct.
in this company. Now, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marine Corps, they define leadership, so there's a unification process there.
How do they define leadership?
Well, all of them use the same word. It's an art. So their definitions are slightly different. They all use the same word. It's an art, which means I'm an artist as a leader, which means my canvas is my people. I need to work on my people.
Okay.
When I ask most people, what's the greatest asset in your business? They all say the same thing, people.
People.
And I said, all right, so tell me how you can prove that. And they have to think about it.
Yeah.
Or I'll ask leaders, I'll say, how important is leadership in your organization? They'll say, it's critically important. I said, on a scale of 1 to 10. They'll say 10. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank your current leadership development program? They say, well, like a 0.
Yeah.
And I
Don't
said,
have one.
That's right. But we give these things a 10. We give communication a 10, but don't often train on it. We give engagement a 10, but we don't practice it. We give empowerment a 10, but we don't schedule it. So I teach leaders how to use some unifying principles, like defining leadership. What does it mean to be a leader in your organization? What are your top 3 expected leadership traits? And we go back to identity, mission, vision, core values. Leaders need to speak it more. If you have them, use them. If you don't have them, create them and use them. And that helps to unify the leaders, because right now, if there's gaps in the leadership team during this chaos, everybody feels it.
So you've written 6 books on these topics.
Actually, we just had our 7th one come out.
7th. Okay.
Really? What's
so
that?
how?
The communication movement. So we teach people how to communicate magnetically where it attracts people.
And you're an active consultant working with companies.
Yes.
So do you work with them on implicating then the things that you've written in the book, or is it an expanded version of it, or how do the books tie into your coaching?
So each of the books, we have 3 main books: a leadership book called The Leadership Connection, strategic planning book called Elevate, and a sales book called Dynamic Sales Combustion. Each book has a program, a system, a 4-part series, so I can go in and do an overview on leading, planning, or selling. But then we also have deep dive sessions that they can partake in. So GCS title, you both of you work with them. I've been doing direct leadership coaching inside of their organization, helping with the infrastructure, helping with communication, one-on-one leadership coaching. So everything that we do has a program to it, but also can be customized.
How long does it take for a company to work through this process?
So the 4-part series is really 12 hours.
Okay.
And so we're doing a number of those right now where we go in and I do part 1, 2, 3, 4. They're about 3 hours each, highly interactive with teams of leaders. And so they can be completed with that in about 12 hours. But then there's longer programs based on the needs and the goals of the organization.
All right, so we got to go one more time to pay bills, and we got one segment left, right? Okay, so this is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. We'll be right back after these messages.
Get that Rack Shack attack, Rack Shack barbecue. Yeah.
You said you got nothing, or what do you got?
Give me just towards the end. Give me 2 minutes, or
Okay.
let me start.
Do
I'll
that.
start, and then we'll just go back.
Go
You have
back.
to- yep.
Okay.
Ready for money?
Yep.
Here we go with segment 4.
But we're gonna wrap.
Money in the bank.
Rates are good. Pretty exciting.
You know why? Right.
Free money.
You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, welcome back to the program. This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk, the big money segment of the program. Calvin Kamick, ladies and gentlemen, going to tell you about rates are great and love to have the conversation.
Thank you, Keith. That's it. Seems like that's it. Well, I do want to touch on a couple things real quick, and there's good headlines coming out, and everybody still is anticipating that rates move up, but every headline says despite rates go down, despite rates go down.
Oh.
So we're back down to 2.875 on 30-year fixed money. We were at we've always been hanging there, but most companies we're around 3 1/8, 3 1/4.
So if someone's at 3.5%, should they think about refinancing or no?
No.
What,
It's just-
at 4?
Yeah, anywhere high 3s, low
Okay.
4s. So, and we're doing a lot of refinance. You know what I'm finding we're doing a lot of, Keith, is we're restructuring debt for people. They're just like, hey, I want to get rid of this, and this. And if I do that, my payment's actually lower. And it's amazing that you can really help set people up financially really well right now because there's nice equity in their home. We can shift some things around. We don't have to add term to their loan, right? We can just
Or maybe even shave a couple years off.
Yep, we can go. I mean, we can go do any mortgage length from 10 years to 29 years. It doesn't matter. We can just pick whatever year you want to start at, so you don't lose that again. And it's really nice just to see people getting. They're just like there's such an exhale, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a big exhale for people when they kind of can reposition and restructure debt, and know they're okay, and their interest rates lower, their monthly payments go actually down, and they have no more debt. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing to get people to be. I always tell people I want you to only have good debt, right? Good debt is deductible debt where we can get rid of that. We can write off our mortgage interest. So that's been good. So, I want to talk more with Eric, but so rates. I just tell people rates are really continue to be really good. 15 years are right around 2.5 again. So really cheap money. FHA is crazy low. Jumbo is right around 3 1/8. So money continues to be for sale, and we have a lot of it left in the vault. So we're willing to talk to you. So 651-231-2500. You can always reach me at. And love to have the conversation. We're done with hoops, Keith. So my youngest son is now done with AAU, which is so nice. So we're done traveling for the last month and a half. It's been a lot.
Brutal. Yeah.
It's been brutal. So, but it's good. I'm happy for him, and it's just good to be done with all that now. So, still doing a lot of renovation loans. Opened up 2 renovation loans again this past week. So that's a really great product too. If you can't find the home of your dreams, maybe we can create it with a renovation loan, and so we've had some.
Have you ever had a case where I'm thinking of a house I have on the market right now? It just came on the market this week.
The one we talked about this morning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could we put a loan in place on that right now? Just like here's a package where you could come in, needs about $110,000.
Yeah, you buy it for 3. We're going to do $110,000 renovation. So now our total cost is $410. What's the future appraised value? $600. Boom, done.
Very good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's really it right now, because I'd rather listen to to Eric than myself.
Okay, so I want to get back now, Eric, if it's okay. So you were when we went out last time, you were talking about the kind of your coaching program and how it works and how we're working through the transition with people in this. We're in more of a transition stage. I don't think we know where we're going to be yet, do we?
That's correct.
You don't think we're out of it?
So anytime we face chaos, whether I've faced it with my wife for cancer, cardiac arrest, she actually passed away of cardiac arrest 5 years ago and came back after being dead for 15 minutes, whether I was in the Marine Corps and there was a conflict, or whether we're in COVID-19, there's 3 phases to any obstacle or chaos we've ever had. The first is the obstacle itself, which was the pandemic, which was wrapped in civil unrest, a cancel culture, an election year unlike anything we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
We as human beings tend to stay together during that first phase. We will unify, just like in the military. There's an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about the end phase, which is the third one, and they called it the new norm, which I don't believe exists. I'm calling it the great new era. It will be a great new era, but that's phase 3.
And we don't know what that looks like.
We don't yet. No. But what we do know is that once the restrictions dropped, we moved into the transition phase where people are going back. So a service member coming back from combat, deployment, or transitioning out of service, they can take that hill for you. They will go to combat for you. But oftentimes the transition phase may be the most challenging for people who are highly trained, highly disciplined, highly committed. The transition phase out of cancer was tough. There's variables. The transition phase out of anything was tough. The transition phase out of COVID is tough because there's variables. We don't know everything. So we're not in the great new era yet. We're not in the obstacle yet. We are in a transition phase, which is the toughest of the 3 phases. And so most leaders aren't prepared to go across that rickety bridge to get to the new era, but we help them with that. And we help them by creating cohesion inside of their organizations, because most people during a transition think about leaving the organization they were involved with during an obstacle.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it doesn't mean they hate the organization. It just means that human nature is, I need to separate myself from where I experienced this. When soldiers or Marines,
because that was painful.
That's correct.
So I want to separate myself from my memory of pain.
That's correct. It's human behavior.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, about 20% of people had their resumes out. Right now, it's as high as 80%. People looking, wanting to switch even careers. Just leave it all. So at some point, you take the uniform off for the last time. It doesn't mean you don't like your branch of service. It means it's time to move on. Transitions cause people to go, okay, it's time to move on. We thought about it during the obstacle, but now we may take action. So one of the biggest things we get leaders to focus on is developing and empowering their people to enhance retention, so you don't have high turnover, which is very common during a transition phase.
Right.
And turnover is expensive.
It's expensive. It's frustrating. It'll get you off track from your goals.
Tell us the story about your wife. What happened that she passed away?
So my wife, about 10 months after we were married in 1998, she was diagnosed with stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I left the film industry and became a caregiver overnight. She did a year of treatments and went in remission. Then a few years, and they told her she'd never have kids. A few years later, she was diagnosed with basal cell cancer. The radiation they used from the first cancer came back to give her radiation, or gave her breast cancer. Because she already had radiation, she couldn't have it again, so they had to do a mastectomy. While she was recovering from that in 2011, she was diagnosed with melanoma. So she beat all those cancers. That's what made us move out here to Minnesota, because her sister, Sandy, had moved out here years before. So we'd always visited, loved the weather, loved the people. We realized we had never been invited in January and February, but okay, hey, whatever. So a little
someone lied to us.
There was a bait and switch. That was strategic. So in 2011, after Gina went in remission for the 4th time, she says, I want to be around my sister, so we moved out. In 2016, on March 13th, my daughter and I, we did have a child, Erica, and we went out and did a coffee run, came back, and within 30 seconds, she had dropped dead of cardiac arrest, all the treatments on her heart. So I went into that military mode, Marine mode, and I started CPR. I got 911 on the phone. When they got there, they said she was gone. They hit her with the defibrillator, but couldn't get her back. Hit her again, couldn't get her back. Bryce, the first responder who was in charge there, hit her a 3rd time and got her back. But she had an ejection fraction rate of 10%, whereas ours is about 65.
What is it?
65% for our ejection fraction rate in our heart.
What's that
How
mean?
we pump the blood in and out.
Okay.
Hers was at 10%. She was in a coma. So a week of being in the coma, she started to come to. And we immediately started setting goals again. And so we went back to our original goal formula. So every time we've had chaos, we've set goals.
Wow.
In fact, the military, and she made a full recovery minus having a weaker heart. We leave for Florida in a week, and she goes to all of our events, and it's been great. But we've had our challenges.
So your process that you use personally.
Oh, I eat my own food.
Okay.
All of it.
So
yes.
how does that work then? Now you do consulting work for companies.
Yes.
What size companies? I mean, can it from a sole proprietor to 1,000 employees, or is there?
So we work.
Or is there a size where it just doesn't make sense?
We've worked with mom and pop shops.
Okay.
So 2 or 3 people that need help, we've helped them. In fact, I just did some identity coaching for a 2-person shop. But we've worked with companies, smaller businesses. We've worked with GCS Title, who you guys know very well, Hubbard Broadcasting all over the country, U.S. Bank. So it can be anything from a mom and pop shop to a Fortune 500. The principles that we teach are universal.
And then and you said it was your basic program is how many hours?
About 12 hours
Just
for
about
the
12
minimum.
hours.
Yep, that includes everybody, where you can have leaders go through it. You can have team members developed as leaders. The military develops everyone to think and act like a leader, and we teach that too. And we have a program that shows how to do
actually.
Because they don't know who the next general is going to be.
They don't, and they're always scouting for them. So the leader's always looking for the next leader, and every business leader says they hire people better than them. So if you do that, you have to prove it by developing them as leaders. I mean, you just imagine, no matter what size your company is, how would it feel if every day, every single person showed up thinking and acting like a leader, looking out for the team member to their left and right? And we have the strategies and techniques to do that without running 5 miles of PT, rappelling, and going into the gas chamber.
Yeah.
How great is that?
So good. What's contact information for you?
Where would you like them to call you if they were interested in talking to you further?
You can actually, I'll give out my personal email address is Eric, E-R-I-K, at thinkgreat90.com.
Thinkgreat90.com.
And our website is thinkgreat90.com.
Why 9? What's the 90?
For 90 days.
There you go.
90 days.
We always want 90 days to be on the forefront of everybody's thoughts. We can control every day and link them all together.
For 90 days.
That's right.
And Eric is E-R-I-K.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Buy the books. Read the books.
They're awesome. That's what I've heard. I've heard they're awesome.
Heard they're awesome.
That's what you've been told. If you say so
I heard they're
yourself.
great.
Yeah.
I heard they're great.
This is your Real Estate Chalk Talk. We're broadcasting from the legendary Rack Shack Barbecue Studio. We'll see you next week.
You've been listening to your Real Estate Chalk Talk with the Hittner Group, the leaders of the #1 Coldwell Banker Burnett real estate team in Minnesota. If you want to get more when you sell and pay less when you buy, call 612-627-8000 or go online